All right, today we're jumping into something really powerful and, let's be honest, kind of unsettling. We're going to look at two legendary heroes and completely flip their stories on their heads. We're stripping away all the usual stuff about glory and power to find a much darker, much more tired truth. And we're doing it all through the eyes of this mysterious figure, the Soothsayer. And this is where our story kicks off. I mean, just listen to that description. It paints this picture of a world that's already given up, a world that's just exhausted. The sky's the color of a bruised eye. This is not the stage for some grand, heroic adventure. It feels more like the backdrop for the world's final, weary sigh. And this is the core question the Soothsayer makes us ask. It's a pretty radical idea, right? We're always taught that heroes are these paragons of will, of drive, of purpose. But what if their most legendary actions, the things we celebrate them for, were really just signs that they were profoundly existentially tired? Okay, so before we let this Soothsayer completely deconstruct everything, let's just do a quick refresher on the legends we think we know. These are the stories of absolute icons, figures who were defined by their incredible will and, well, world-changing power. So you've got Wotan, this relentless seeker who sacrifices literally everything for cosmic knowledge. His story is all about willpower. And then you have Samson, who's basically a walking force of nature. His power isn't really a choice. It's just a fact of who he is, the I will of a god in human form. These are the archetypes of strength we've all been raised on. But then, the Soothsayer steps out from the shadows, and he offers up a completely different take on all this. He looks at these legends, at all this power, and he sees something else entirely. He sees a kind of sickness, a weariness, that he actually has a name for. He calls it the long tiredness, and this idea is absolutely key to understanding his whole philosophy. We're not talking about just being physically tired. This is a bone-deep spiritual exhaustion. It's that moment you realize that all the struggle, all the glory, it's just you playing a part in a pointless drama, a play that was written by a ghost. This is the lens he sees the entire world through. So armed with this concept of the long tiredness, the Soothsayer starts to just dismantle these heroic myths. He takes their greatest sacrifices, their most legendary acts, and reframes them in this bleak new light. So what was the great wisdom Wotan gained from all his suffering? Was it some grand cosmic secret, the key to ultimate power? Nope. According to the Soothsayer, it was this. He learned that everything is just a repeating, empty cycle. The runes he suffered so much for, they didn't speak of glory. They spoke of futility. Just think about what that really means. Wotan didn't climb the world tree to get more powerful. The Soothsayer says he climbed it because he was desperate for a reason, a why for his own existence. He just wanted to see if the view from the very top was any different from the view from the grave. And when he found out it wasn't, he simply stopped wanting. Now, the Soothsayer applies this exact same logic to Samson. In his telling, this incredible divine strength isn't a gift. It's a constant, noisy burden. So him killing the lion, that wasn't some heroic feat. It was the act of a man who was just so irritated by the noise of life that he lashed out, desperate for a moment of quiet. And from this point of view, the story of Delilah isn't a tragedy. It's not about betrayal at all. For the Soothsayer, it's Samson's great liberation. See, he was a slave to his own uncontrollable strength, and Delilah, she offered him a way out. For the first time, he felt the relief of being finished. It was his one holy no to the burden he'd been forced to carry. So we're seeing how this idea of the long tiredness completely changes how we see sacrifice and strength. Through the Soothsayer's eyes, the stories of these heroes are not about gaining power. They're about escaping it. And this all builds to the final act in his philosophy, what he calls the Great Refusal. And the path to this refusal basically has 3 steps. First, you have the big realization. The world and all its ambitions, it's just a sinking ship. The circle is empty. Second comes the cessation. You just stop wanting things. The drive for power, for glory, for meaning, it all just fades. And finally, you get to the refusal. You make a conscious choice for nothingness over the tiresome struggle of being something. And this is where we see both our heroes arrive at the exact same destination, but they take completely different roads to get there. Wotan's refusal is passive. He sees the pointlessness of it all, and he just gives up. He becomes the king of the stillness and falls asleep, with no desire to ever wake up. But Samson's refusal is active. He is so tired of just standing in the world that he pulls the whole thing down on top of himself, actively choosing to become dust. So, what's the big takeaway from all this dark wisdom? Well, the soothsayer's philosophy isn't really about despair. It's about finding a completely different kind of peace, a peace that traditional heroism could never, ever offer you. This line about Wotan is just devastatingly simple, isn't it? It cuts right to the heart of everything. What is the point of creating a legacy, of making your mark on the world, when the world itself is falling apart? It makes all of that ambition seem, well, a little absurd. And this might be the most provocative line in the entire story. It's the ultimate summary of Samson's final choice. Being a hero is a constant effort, a constant struggle. But being rubble? That's a state of rest. It's the end of all that striving. It's choosing to just be part of the quiet, final landscape of ruin. Ultimately, in this worldview, true triumph isn't about winning the game. It's about realizing the game is exhausting and probably meaningless, and then having the wisdom to just walk off the field. The victory is found in that sweet, heavy peace of finally letting it all go. And that's really where we'll leave it. The soothsayer forces us to rethink what strength and will even mean. Maybe the greatest power isn't about shaping the world to your desires, but about having the strength to desire nothing from it at all. A dark thought, for sure, but a compelling one.